Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. I'm so glad you're here. Today we're taking a deep dive into Matthew chapter 5 through 8. These chapters aren't just famous, they're foundational to understanding who Jesus is, why he came, and how he calls us to live. We'll explore how Jesus fulfills Old Testament prophecy and how his teachings will speak straight into our hearts today. So grab your Bible or just settle in and let's get started. Matthew chapter 5 opens with Jesus seeing the crowds and going up on a mountainside to teach. This isn't random. Matthew wants to see Jesus as a new Moses. Just as Moses ascended Mount Sinai to receive the law from God, Jesus now climbs a mountain to give a fuller revelation of God's heart and his law. And what he teaches, he starts with the Beatitudes, blessings on the people of the world, often overlooked. Blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are those who mourn, the meek, the poor in heart, the peacemakers. These blessings aren't just sweet sayings, they fulfill the heart of Isaiah chapter 61, where the prophet said the Messiah would bring good news to the poor and bind up the brokenhearted. Jesus is saying, I am the Messiah, the kingdom has come, and it looks like this. God's blessing isn't just for the successful or the powerful. It's for the humble, the hurting, the hungry, anyone willing to seek him. Jesus goes deeper. He tells his followers, you are the salt of the earth, you are the light of the world. Salt preserves, light reveals. In a world falling into decay and darkness, Jesus calls his people to be agents of change and hope, and light in the truth. And then, the turning point. Do not think I came to abolish the law, or the prophets. I have not come to abolish them, but to fulfill them. Matthew chapter 5:17. This is huge. Throughout the Old Testament, God gave Israel the law through Moses. He sent prophets like Isaiah, Jeremiah, and Ezekiel to call his people back to faithfulness. And now Jesus says, all those stories, the commands, the promises, it's all coming true in me. He isn't discarding the Old Testament. He's bringing it to its ultimate meaning, and he raises the bar. Not just don't murder, but don't even harbor anger. Not just don't commit adultery, but guard your heart against lust. Not just love your neighbor, but love your enemy. Following Jesus isn't about checking off religious boxes. It's about heart transformation. He's not just after behavior, he's after love, mercy, integrity, and radical forgiveness. In Matthew chapter 6, Jesus turns inward to how we practice faith. He warns against performing righteousness to impress others. When you give to the needy, don't broadcast it. When you pray, don't show off with fancy words and long elaborate prayers. As a matter of fact, close the door and pray in secret to your Father in heaven. When you fast, don't seek attention. He's calling his people back to authentic relationship with God, not religious theater. And this is where Jesus teaches the Lord's Prayer. It's short, it's simple, it's powerful. Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be your name. Your kingdom come, your will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Notice, Jesus teaches us to pray for God's kingdom first, not our own comfort. The prayer reflects the ancient Jewish hope for God's rule to be fully established like the Psalms and the prophets who long for God to reign in justice and peace. Prayer isn't about manipulating God to do what we want. It's about aligning our hearts with what he wants and trusting that he already knows our needs before we ask. Still, in chapter 6, Jesus talks about worry. Look at the birds of the air. Consider the lilies of the field. They don't stress, and yet God provides for them. If God clothes the flowers, how much more will he care for you? Jesus is echoing themes from Psalms and Job, where God care for the creation shows his faithfulness to his people. We are free to live without anxiety about tomorrow because we are loved by God, who holds tomorrow in his hands. Seek first his kingdom and his righteousness, and all these things will be added to you. Matthew chapter 6 verse 33. Matthew chapter 7 brings some of Jesus' most pointed warnings. He tells not to judge hypocritically. Take the log out of your own eye before pointing someone else's speck. This means we are to judge with compassion and not project our faults that we also struggle with onto others. Instead, we are to use righteous judgment, not to judge like the Pharisees that are more concerned about the Sabbath than healing the sick, lame, blind, and demon-possessed. He urges us to persist in prayer. Ask and it will be given to you. Seek and you will find. He also tells us to pray in a heartfelt way, not using vain repetitions as the heathen do. There are no magic words that God only listens to, but He listens to our needs like our mothers and fathers on earth, and He even knows our needs before we ask Him. He gives the famous golden rule, do unto others as you would have them do to you. And He challenges us to enter by the narrow gate, the hard but true way of life. He warns of false prophets, wolves in sheep's clothing, reminding us that good trees bear good fruit. So false prophets bear bad fruit in their followers and in themselves, and also lies. Finally, he closes with a vivid image. Whoever hears these words and does them is like a wise man who builds his house on a rock. Storms come, but the house stands firm. Throughout the wisdom literature like Proverbs, the wise person is the one who listens to God, instructs and walks in obedience. Faith isn't just about hearing good sermons or feeling inspired. It's putting Jesus' words into action, everyday storm or sunshine. Then in Matthew chapter 8, we see Jesus step off the mountain and demonstrate the power He talked about. First, He heals a man with leprosy, a disease that made people outcasts. Jesus doesn't just speak healing, He touches the man that would have made Jesus unclean under the law, but instead His holiness overcomes the sickness and the man is made well. Next, He heals a Roman centurion servant from his distance. This shows that Jesus' authority isn't limited by space, just like the prophetic vision in Psalm 107 where God sent out His word and healed him. It also shows that God is for all peoples, Gentiles and Jews, the whole world. Then He calms a raging storm on the Sea of Galilee, and He drives out demons from two possessed men, demonstrating His authority not just over sickness, but over nature and the supernatural world. Isaiah chapter 53 prophesies that the Messiah would bear our infirmities and carry our diseases. Matthew chapter 8 verse 17 directly quotes this, saying Jesus fulfilled it by healing the sick. Jesus isn't just a wise teacher. He is Lord over sickness and storms and spiritual oppression, and He moves towards the broken and hurting with compassion and power. So friends, what do we take away from Matthew chapter 5 through 8? First, Jesus fulfills everything the Old Testament pointed toward. He is the true King, the true prophet, the true healer. Second, He invites us into a life of deeper righteousness, not shallow religion, but heart-deep love for God and one another. Third, He calls us to build our lives on His word, to trust His power, and to walk in His compassion. The kingdom of heaven is here, and it's still transforming lives today. Thanks for journeying through these chapters with me. If you found this helpful, go ahead and hit that like button, subscribe for more, and share this with someone who could use a little encouragement. Until next time, keep seeking first His kingdom.